coming up. Tamika Upton to make her return in the night's do-or-die semi-final against St George Illawarra in the NSW. Meanwhile, Rihanna Ifland claims another world title in Italy. And of course, we'll have classic moments from 1994. That's up next here on NBN's local sports news. Good afternoon. My name is Conklin McLeod and welcome to NBN's local sports news. This afternoon, Tamika Upton to return for the night's NSW Finals Series against St George Illawarra. Rhiannon Ifland claims her sixth world title. And we'll have a look at the year that was 1994. But first though, Tamika Upton is hoping to return for the Newcastle Knights do-or-die semi-final clash against St George Illawarra in the NSW. Because of that, Upton has missed only 2 games because of injury. Tamika Upton is one of the best players in the game, and of course, she's only missed 2 NSW games due to injury. And of course, that all but ends this weekend when she takes part in the Knights' first ever NSW final series this weekend. And of course, because of that, it's all becoming exciting. And of course, the Knights are confident that they'll be boosted by the return of Upton into Sunday's do-or-die semi-final at Suncorp. Upton has missed Newcastle's past 2 games with a calf injury, but the Queensland Origin fullback was eager to take her place in Sunday's 30-8 triumph against the Dragons, only to be overruled by coach Ron Griffith and his medical staff. Griffith said that she wanted to play, but we just decided against it. We met with her on Friday and thought we'd probably better off leaving another week. She ticked off what she needed to on Friday, but after we said no, she came to us and said, "I'm ready to play." But risk versus reward, we decided to err on the side of caution for another week. Caution, said the experience of Upton and skipper Millie Boyle, both of whom won back-to-back grand finals with the Brisbane Broncos in 2019-20, will be crucial this week. And of course, the Knights are hoping to win their first finals appearance, as well as their first ever grand final this year. Like Macquarie's, Rhiannon Ifland has overcome injury to clinch her 6th consecutive Red Bull cliff diving world title with a spectacular victory at Poligono in Italy on the weekend. The 31-year-old from North's Wharf spent her formative years training at Lambton Pool under the guidance of Hunter United Diving Academy coach Eric Booker, secured the championship in the penultimate round. She will now return in triumph for the series final in Sydney Harbour on October the 15th. The first ever Red Bull cliff diving event to be held in Australia. And of course, Rhiannon Ifland knew that this one really means a lot to her. And of course, still sinking in, to be honest, she's done the math. And of course, and she knew that she could go into Sydney, into her home event with the title already wrapped up. So it's an amazing feeling. And also, she cannot wait to compete in Sydney and just have as much fun as she can. And to relive in that moment, hampered by minor shoulder problem, Evelyn was below her best but still finished 18 points ahead of Canadian rival Molly Carlson to claim her 29th victory from 36 World Series events. Meanwhile, she said conditions were definitely challenging, but to be honest, also, you really have to be switched on and you could get lucky with the wave, or you couldn't. Meanwhile, in the men's competition, 9-time world champion Gary Hunt secured a win that gave him a narrow 34-point lead heading into the final event to be staged at Fleet Steps at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney Harbour. To hockey, and of course, Ryan Warnog got lost in the space, and he managed to the space, the run, the strike, the goal, and the elation. The 18-year-old grand final rookie was quickly forced to regather his composure and hockey stick to finish off the final 60 seconds of Saturday's epic encounter between Norths and Gosford in Newcastle. Warnock put Norths ahead 4-3 during extra time of the men's Hunter Coast Premier Hockey League decider, having trailed by 2 for most of the second half. But it turned out the season wasn't over just yet. Warnock told us amid post-match celebrations that it felt incredible. Also, he thought that he won the game. He forgot it wasn't a golden goal, that he threw his stick, and he was cheering. But there was a minute left, so he had to focus and do the job. And thankfully, they managed to keep them out. Warnock's goal at a packed Newcastle International Hockey Centre capped off a remarkable comeback for Norths, having already scored twice in quick succession to equalise at 3-3 in the dying stages at regular time. The teenagers shot from the top of the circle at the northern end of the field, stayed low and found the back of the net. And of course, it was a bittersweet accolade for Gosford, who had won the previous 4 grand finals. And of course, Sam Lyles from North received Best and Fairest for 2022. The Blues were also crowned club champions. And of course, in Hunter Rugby Union, Hamilton coach Marty Berry will give wingers Faiso Vasegoat and Harry Brett until Thursday to prove their fitness for the local grand final against Merewether. Vasegoat grabbed his hamstring as he tried to chase the Wanderers flyer Tim Marsh early in the second half of the Hawks' 59-24 demolition of the Two Blues in the preliminary final. Meanwhile, rookie Brett also finished on the bench with ice on his knee and ankle. In just a moment, we'll have a look at triathlon and also classic local stories from 1994. Of course, sports stories, I mean.
Today's PC software doesn't miss a beat when it runs on an Intel Pentium processor. The processor that runs all your favorite PC applications for home, business, and even games better than they've ever run before. So if you want to see your PC software perform at its best, get a PC with a Pentium processor inside.
I'm going to buy that.
Into big business now, are we?
Nope, I'm quite happy with the small business I own, Louise.
Who are you banking with now, Bob?
Newcastle Permanent.
No, I know. I mean, your company banking.
Yeah, we're with the firm.
Didn't know they did business banking.
Well, they have done for quite some time now, Dad.
Oh, good move.
That's mine. Thank you.
Your business is in good hands with Newcastle Permanent.
They're our building society.
Time for a Pentium 2 processor? Intel is giving you the chance to win a Pentium 2 processor-based PC from Gateway. Visit this website to enter.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's the big one you want. It's the game for you. 'Cause it's the big red ball that makes dreams come true. Dreams come true. Dreams come true. The big red ball. The big red ball. The big red ball that makes dreams come true.
Newcastle triathlete Aaron Royal has enjoyed another lucrative day out with a 7th placed finish at the PTO US Open in Dallas at the weekend. The two-time Olympian completed the 2-kilometre swim, 80-kilometre cycle leg and 18-kilometre run in 3 hours, 21 minutes and 33 seconds, finishing 4 minutes and 16 seconds behind winner Colin Chartier of the US. He was the best placed Australian. Royal collected $37,400 for his efforts. Terrigal will meet Kalani in this year's Men's Premier League Football Grand Final after defeating Camden 3-1. In the women's decider, Southern Edelong has booked its place after a stunning strike in the final seconds against Terrigal.
It looked like Southern Edelong were in cruise control in the preliminary final. It was 2-0 at half-time, but just after the break, Terrigal's Jordan Toms Wedge scored a superb goal to bridge the gap. A short time later, a set piece, and it was all square with a perfect header from Rachel Darby. At the other end, the Lionesses had numerous one-on-one chances, including this shot from Emily Diaz. It would have been the goal of the season, but Terrigal's Candace Phelan couldn't pull off the bicycle kick. With less than 10 to go, desperation from Southern's keeper Jade Ridley kept her side in it. After 90 minutes, it was still a stalemate. Then, deep in stoppage time, one of the greatest goals seen in Central Coast women's football, Letitia McCormack sending a scud missile into the top corner. The Lionesses 3-2 winners in an absolute thriller. They'll now face Umina in this weekend's grand final. Steve Allen, NBN News.
A thrilling Hunter Central Coast AFL Grand Final was just sinking in for the Colonial Vale Bombers 3 days on from when the final siren sounded. The victory wasn't smooth sailing though, fighting back in the second half to defeat local rivals Terrigal Avoca.
Worn, tarnished and lucky to be in one piece after 3 days of celebrations. The Black Diamond Cup is also looking a bit rough around the edges. It's probably just been the last 24 hours that you start to think back and think, wow, that's all real and we did it. The Bombers' grand final victory capped off a season of dominance, losing just one game all year. Shackleton was named Coach of the Year and 7 of his stars were named in the Team of the Year, including leading goal kicker and Elliot Davey medalist Tim Oosterhoff and runner-up best and fairest Josh Misford. I reckon if you had asked me at the start of the year, that's what it's going to be, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. And that's, gone any better? Probably not. The grand final wasn't all smooth sailing, with the Bombers down by 9 points heading into the third quarter. But Trent Stubbs stepped up, booting 5 goals, alongside Lockie Waters, who was named best on ground. But Shackleton says it took his entire side to claim a 71 points to 58 win against Terrigal. They've been in 10 grand finals in a row and they're an exceptional club and they're really well coached. So to beat them was that little bit special. The cup hasn't left the hands of a Bomber since they first grasped it on Saturday. But they may have to if they want to strike while the iron's hot. Yeah, we were talking about next Tuesday, but that's probably a little bit early. I guess you just got to enjoy it. You spend so long trying to get to the top and win something, and it feels like you're only there for a small period and then you're starting again. Will DeFulvio, NBN News.
North Tamworth has extended its Group 4 Premiership winning streak. A second half comeback against Dunglewood sealed a 7th consecutive win.
The match began on a punishing note for the North Tamworth Bears. A monster run from Tavita Pacelli, easily outpacing and fending off Bears, saw the home team score. But the Bears weren't outdone for long. They crossed the try line again, but Dungowan's defence stood strong. Captain Scott Blanche getting the job done. The Bears' awkward defence saw the Cowboys score off an unpredictable bounce. And once again, the Bears couldn't stick the landing. A bulldozing run set up Lee and Mack to take the lead for the Cowboys. Coming out of the sheds, the Bears found their groove. A quick grubber kick from Liam Ball kept the pressure on the Cowboys. Emotions got the better of Dungowan, resulting in a fight that won't soon be forgotten. Sean Ferguson was sin-binned, and shortly after, Brett Jarrett was sent for the match. The North Tamworth Bears taking home yet another premiership, 22-14.
A couple of years off with COVID and nearly forgot how good it was. I think we've got about 8 new players in the 17, so it's not the usual crew. We've worked hard. We've done really well.
Chris Nicholson.
The big black bears are back on the road again, back on the road again, back on the road again. The big black bears are back on the road again. We've got a victory now.
NBN News.
Port Macquarie will take on Old Bar during this Saturday's Group 3 grand final. It comes after the Breakers claimed an impressive win over the Wingham Tigers.
It was now or never for the Port City Breakers and the Wingham Tigers. The Breakers started off strong, stealing the early lead. By the 16th minute, it was a 12-0 scorecard. 10 minutes later, the Tigers started to gain momentum, crossing over the line to close the gap. And with minutes before the half-time clock, Wingham settled with an even playing field at 12-all. Port City Breakers were quick off the pace by the second half, solidifying their stance, before it became back-to-back football with the Tigers levelling out the score for 18-all. but a penalty in the 66th minute gave the Breakers an edge in front before the score was settled at full time for 26-18, sending the Tigers back home with their tails between their legs.
It was a tough game. We just dropped too much ball in that second half and just crucified ourselves.
The Breakers will rival against Old Bar Pirates this Saturday.
In our last game, we done everything to lose. Sin bins, penalties, back-to-back sets, but we're just going to work on our discipline and our 1%ers. I think our 1%ers are what are really going to work for us.
Gemma Pepper, NBN News.
The Wollumbar Alstonville Pioneers have claimed their 7th Far North Coast Rugby Premiership after a dominant display. The 43 to 12 point win breaking the hearts of the Bangalore Rebels in what was the club's first ever appearance in the grand final.
Taking out the competition yet again, coach Bill Johnston says Saturday's 43 to 12 domination over Bangalore was all down to preparation.
I think our preparation leading to the grand final was where it was at. I mean, Bangalore are a bit slow off the mark. They hadn't played for 3 or 4 weeks.
Wollongbar Alstonville came out of the gates firing, Bangalore only managing to score 2 tries thanks to the Pioneers' solid defence. At half-time, the score was 18-5, then war went up another notch.
We demolished their line-out, we strangled their scrum, so we wore them down, we really twisted the screws.
He says there was a pivotal moment he knew they had it in the bag.
The moment where I thought that we won the grand finals when Dan Damon got that 50-metre intercept and just no one touched him, he dove over the line.
While a few key players stood out at the match, Johnston admits it was a team effort.
It's hard to choose one particular person. Like if I look at our 1 to 23 across the board, and most of our reserves all got on, everyone played a really good game.
Impressed with their track record as a team.
Like we've had 7 out of the last 10 grand final victories, and to have 10 in a row is pretty special for any club.
Josephine Shannon, NBN News.
Yeah, what a fantastic win. Now let's go back to 1994, and of course, let's go up to May, where the Marathon Stadium, of course, was changed into a city versus country match. And of course, let's have a look at the classic local sports stories from that year.
Local players shone in the encounter with the combined Sydney Metro side. Curry centre Brian Quinton scored 2 tries, Cessnock's Trevor Crowe captained the country side well, and Maitland's Brett Christensen put points on the board with the boot. Country First led 10-6 at half-time. Sydney Metropolitan fought back heavily in the second half, but Country sealed the match in its last 10 minutes. Selectors had an eye on the match for a New South Wales residents team, which will run out against Queensland during the State of Origin series. The Falcons set a blistering pace from the start, unsettling the Suns with 12 straight baskets. Derek Rucker would account for 40 points before the game was out, shooting with deadly accuracy from out wide and at close quarters. Suns coach Mark Bragg tried to rally his side, but the Falcons' onslaught continued with big Paul Kuiper and Derek Rucker never far from the action. By half-time, the Falcons had opened a 30-point lead on the Suns, but the Suns began to make adjustments in the third quarter, edging their way back. The Suns outscored the home side in the third, making up 20 points and pouring on the pressure. With 10 minutes to go, it was the cool hand of Mike Johnson that helped restore confidence. Marty McLean, Dozier and Rucker continued to hold the game just out of the Suns' reach. Final score, 115 to 105.
All 8 courts at Taree have been resurfaced with the latest technology called FlexiPave. The perfectly level, non-slip cushion surface is a far cry from the unlevel bitumen and slippery all-weather surfaces that the netballers used to play on. $15,000 of the $50,000 cost was funded by a government grant, with the remainder coming from the Taree and District Netball Association.
We only gave you just a little bit of money. You really raised a lot of the money, or most of the money yourselves. We were thankful that we could give you a bit of
It took 2 weeks to lay the new surface, just in time for the beginning of the netball season in March. The season will finish in September, and the sport may have a new star in MP John Turner, who tried his hand at netball. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News. David Waite was a pleased man today, with his team sitting just one win out of the top 5 after thrashing Parramatta 34-4 yesterday.
Obviously, the result was the most important thing. Each week you have to pick up the 2 points, and I'm pleased to say that we eventually did that yesterday. It was a great second half performance, but it was probably what most people would call a fairly ugly game in the first half.
One of the standouts in the match was Newcastle's Paul Harrigan. It's almost a foregone conclusion these days that the powerful forward will be picked for the State of Origin team. What isn't as clear-cut is the chances of outstanding hooker Robbie McCormack and prop Mark Sargent. Their coach David Waite thinks they both deserve to be in the team.
So do you think Robbie or Mark Sargent deserve to be in the team? Yeah, well, I certainly do, on form, and that's what I mean. I think it's a little harsh on the blokes who are putting in.
Their non-selection may be a blessing in disguise as they bolster an already drained forward pack to play the Gold Coast this weekend. Harrigan will be out training with the Blues. Tony Butterfield is still suspended, while Mark Glanville will not play after suffering ligament damage to his ankle yesterday. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News. It was a packed house at Harker Oval for the clash of Newcastle League's big guns. Both teams were sitting equal first on the ladder before the showdown, but it soon became clear West would move a rung higher. Rosella's captain Neil Baker began the tri-fest in the first 5 minutes, with this crossfield kick finished off by Tony McDonald. A missed opportunity shortly after proved crucial to Curry. Captain-coach Steve Linnane executed one of his classic chip and regathers before making a flick pass to 5'8" Darryl Johnston. Ashley Gorton knocked down this pass to stop a certain try. It was the only chance the Bulldogs had to put up a fight. West went on with a try to Steve Villette after Tony Price squeezed through 2 defenders. And Neil Baker set up another try, passing to Steve Story, who dummied to go in under the posts. After round 7, the table shows West on top, followed by Curry, Toronto, Lakes and Maitland. Most teams still have a chance of making the top 5 at this stage of the season. However, the woes of the Butcher Boys continue. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News.
Umina is best known for its golden beaches and relaxing lifestyle. The local field is a far cry from the Sydney Football Stadium, with a solitary post marking one end of the ground. But this laid-back approach to life may be the very reason why Gaia opted for the tiny town until he joins the Western Reds next year. But the locals at the Umina Beach Bowling Club are divided on whether they want this glamour player from the city.
I think that Mark Gaia is one of the best professional rugby league players in Australia.
It'll be a good thing for the district, I think.
He might just find it a little bit tougher than what he thinks.
Well, you've got a team there that's playing top football, haven't you? So why worry about anyone else? You wouldn't buy a comp, you play for the locals.
But there's one man who's definitely happy, Club President Mick Yall, who surely scored the coup of the season.
Oh, tremendous. We're very, very happy to have him here. I think he's going to be an enormous asset to the club.
Yall says Gaia wasn't lured to the red and green of the local Rabbitohs by a big money offer. The footballer was attracted by his family and friends in the area. It's another episode in a career of dramatic highs and lows for the footballer, which has included appearances in grand finals and fiery displays in State of Origin bouts. And who knows, Gaia may just get used to the waves and Umina Oval, and the Western Reds may have to wait a little longer for its big-name star. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Current New South Wales Super Sedan champion John Pine continued his winning streak to make him the top driver for the season. And Pine managed to produce some anxious moments for his opposition in taking out all 3 races on Saturday night. In the Lita cars, Richard Myers was taken to hospital with suspected chest injuries after he rolled his car and was slammed into by another. Mick Turner totaled his car after clipping a wheel in the modified rods, sending him into a spectacular rollover to end up against the concrete wall. But he managed to walk away from the incident. Next Saturday night, the Motordrome winds up the season with Australia's richest demolition derby.
The Knights met their new teammates today at the team physical in Sydney. Paul Harrigan back in the starting lineup, along with Robbie McCormack. Mark Sargent will sit on the bench, with teammate Mark Glanville by his side. Rep honours have eluded Glanville since he was hauled off the field just 20 minutes into the City Country game 2 years ago. "22-year-old Matthew Johns doesn't know whether to laugh or cry over his selection. The young 5'8" is only in his first season as a regular first grader, but a knee injury could force him out of his most important game to date.
I'd be as happy as Larry if I can get rid of this leg, but I don't think there's any players around that's going to lend me one.
Johns has been given 2 extra days to pass the physical. The selection of 5 Knights is a fitting reward for the club after 3 convincing wins in a row. Yesterday's 24 points to 20 win over the previously undefeated North Sydney has given the team inspiration for its premiership chances and hope for its players in a tour year.
Obviously, there's State of Origin and Kangaroo Tour at the end of the year. So, if I can play well and the form's good enough and the side's going well, then I might be a chance for later on in the year.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
The boys from the bush are back in town. The country rep players had 2 runs in the rain today, ready for the clash with City at Marathon Stadium. Coach Anderson is pleased to be in Newcastle. Usually when he comes with Canterbury, he gets a less than welcome reception.
Yeah, it's good to come here and be the home side and have the fans behind us for a change. We certainly normally cop a hiding when we come up here, from the fans anyway.
All the country boys are injury-free. Matthew John's bad luck in missing out with leg problems isn't seen as a blow to Anderson, with Laurie Daly moving into 5'8".
I think he's the best 5'8" in Australia, so obviously it'll make a hell of a difference for us. Although the young bloke would have done well, I was quite happy to have him there.
Late replacement John Simons has slipped into the team without too much trouble. He may get onto the paddock early with fitness question marks over Daly and Stewart, who haven't played a lot of football lately. Conditions were too wet for Phil Gould's City reps this afternoon. They've been resting here at the team hotel, not taking too many chances before tomorrow night's big clash. Peter Ryan, NBN News. If you're one of those people who don't like those flash European cars, this is the story for you. This BMW has been entered in Saturday night's demolition derby at the Motordrome. The Yuppie Mobile, complete with mobile phone and snow skis, will take on 70 other cars in a fight to the finish. And cars like this don't come cheap.
Restored, a good one is worth 6 to 10.
$1,000.
Yes, $1,000.
While the yuppies may be choking on their nouveau cuisine at even the thought of damaging this saloon, George Jones says he's in it just for the fun.
It's my car, I want to destroy it. But I'm doing it for the benefit of Newcastle. Everybody's going to derive some pleasure from it.
Within the first 5 minutes, McVeigh pushed off some feeble defence to score, then Brasher put Russell in for a try and the Knights were down 8-0. If that wasn't a big enough problem, Tony Butterfield got a little frustrated and was sent off, and the Knights were down to 12 men. Just before half-time, Will Robinson got a lucky bounce and the Tigers led 16 points to 2. After the break, the Knights fought back. A miracle pass from Ainscough gave Godden a sprint to the line, and the Knights went in again. Andrew Johns matching up with Ainscough, who pushed his way through, 16 points to 10. The Tigers weren't finished yet. Gillette was too sharp for the defence, but again Newcastle came back with Robbie Ross running in a 4-pointer, giving the Knights another chance, and then another try to make it a real nail-biter. Russell Wire picked up a cross kick, and it was 20-all. More drama, Balmain's Carroll was sent off for a high tackle. The Knights kicked a penalty and a 2-point lead. But a Tigers try in the dying moments gave them the lead and the game, 26 points to 22. Peter Ryan, NBN News. Butterfield will face the judiciary for this incident in the 19th minute, where he allegedly kneed Balmain centre Tim Brasher.
Knights coach David Waite will travel to Sydney to represent the 28-year-old tonight. He was keeping his case for the second rower mum today, but was full of praise for his team's effort at Leichhardt Oval.
But their form has been good. We have to consistently put that form out every week, though.
With just 12 players for most of the match, the Knights managed to lead by 22 points to 20 with 5 minutes to go. But a Balmain try in the dying minutes clinched it for the Tigers.
Obviously, from the coach's point of view, it's really disappointing when you see those qualities that you hope you've got in your football team, and this football team has had since day one, since our inception. So, and you ask for those things to be displayed in those sorts of circumstances, and to a man they did that. So it really disappointing from the coach's point of view. But
also facing the judiciary tonight is Balmain lock Bernard Carroll for an alleged high tackle on Knights halfback Andrew Johns. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
It wasn't exactly a flying start to the season for the Falcons prior to the weekend game, with 3 narrow losses. But the team reached new heights against Geelong, potting them from all over the court.
We've got that feeling this week that, yes, we played a good basketball game, we stepped up and performed well, and I think it's boosted some confidence.
The star of the show was Derek Rucker, 24 points and 24 assists, a new NBL record.
Can't really remember having that many assists. I like to go back and count on myself. It seemed like it went very quickly from 16 to 21, but nevertheless, 24 is something that I'll take, and I was pretty happy with it. He really is running the team, and he's got a lot of talent out there that he can basically do what he wants to do on the basketball floor.
The Falcons faced Townsville on Friday night, a team it's beaten 3 times in the off-season. But the players aren't complacent about the upcoming game, well aware that the team must improve on its 1-3 season record. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
In front of a hometown crowd at Casino RSL, Rousel was out to put the prestigious Australian title under his belt in his 8th professional fight. From the first round, Duke was in trouble, this flurry of punches putting him well and truly on the defensive. Rousel scored consistently with hard body punches, making it difficult for the southpaw to connect at any stage. By the fourth, a punishing barrage of body punches and a right uppercut putting Duke on the ropes. Another attack by Rousel in the 7th put Duke on the canvas. 2 minutes, 26 seconds into the 8 of 12 scheduled rounds, the fight was stopped, Rousel having convincingly won every round. With an impeccable record after 11 premiership seasons, Butterfield received his first send-off on Sunday. The incident happened in the 19th minute when he retaliated to Balmain centre Tim Brasher.
Oh, there's certainly no doubt that he was the instigator. Had he not harassed me and slowed down the play of the ball, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
The black mark on Butterfield's record worsened after he faced the judiciary last night. The 28-year-old copped a 5-match suspension, a decision he says was an attempt by the judiciary to make an example of him.
They've got to set an example, and probably in the past they've been slightly guilty of not handing out as severe charges, and many people have been very critical of that, and possibly, we're just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Butterfield will continue to train with his team during the suspension and will be a keen spectator at the night's games.
My only concern now is to get along and cheer the boys on, and then hopefully maintain my fitness and try and be some sort of threat when I do get the boots back on.
The Knights team was announced today for their showdown against Parramatta at Marathon Stadium on Sunday. Darren Tracy has been moved into the second row to replace Butterfield. Apart from that, the lineup remains the same as last weekend. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. A vocal home crowd at the Palace in Canberra was soon disappointed. Rucker was the Falcons' top scorer with 24 points, closely followed by Dozier, who posted 23 points. The two Americans were in devastating form, cutting a swathe through the Cannons' defence. An encouraging statistic to come out of the game for Falcons coach Tom Wisman was his team's defensive record. Canberra managed to score a mere 46 points after the first quarter. It was a vital victory for the Falcons, who are now only one win out of the top 8.
There were more from August and September 1994 coming up after the break.